have met you in Las Vegas back in 2019, I believe.
Yes, at the Horasis China meetings. It was a wonderful meeting, and it was our last meeting before the pandemic.
Yes, and we had a discussion of what is the humanities role in the corporate culture. I want to continue that topic because I think humanity is playing more and more important role in the modern economy, especially after COVID and pandemic. You're the professor in philosophy, and I want you to give a little bit background of yourself, and then we start the discussion of our topic.
Sure. Don't ask a philosopher to say only a few words because of I wrote a lot of poetry and public speaking and studied and taught classical guitar for many years. Also Kung Fu with the great Chinese Grandmaster May Liu, who came to Canada to teach us. We were the first Westerners back in the 1970s to learn Kung Fu and also Chinese medicine from a great Grandmaster from Hong Kong. And those teachings have remained with me lifelong. He was a wonderful teacher. And then I later studied science and philosophy of science. So I'm balanced in one way, and that is to use both hemispheres of the brain. And I think it's really important. But we'll come to that in a moment. I've been a professor in 4 different countries. Canada, England, Israel, and USA. At City College, I arrived in 1994, so it's 28 years. College of New York. We have really a very interesting place for the students to be, and it's a very storied place for professors. We have at City College graduated more than, we have 10 Nobel laureates among our distinguished alumni. And that's the most for any public institution in the USA. So we have a mission to provide the highest possible quality of education at a very affordable price. So it makes a big difference in people's lives. And many of our students are the first in their families to achieve a degree at university or graduate level degree. So we want to create opportunity, and I firmly believe personally that the best thing you can do for people is to create opportunity for them to grow and to achieve their high potential. And this is what you do. I see with your art foundation, you're creating also this kind of opportunity. Yeah.
Yes. Yeah, I'm glad that I could have the honor to communicate with you in my show. We have a YouTube channel, Superstar TV 888, just to promote the philosophy and the artist and to share your knowledge. Very knowledgeable in many aspects, including the culture and humanity and Tao and philosophy. So that's why I want to discuss with you about some of the topics that related to the corporate culture.
My best, May. I'm devoted to lifelong learning. I mean, teachers are also students, and it's very important to learn. Our students teach us. They don't often realize this, but by asking questions, they will make us think harder too. So we learn by teaching, and I've had wonderful teachers in my life, and I try to be a conscientious teacher also for my students. But as you say, I have interests in Western philosophy and philosophy of science, but also for many years now, I've been a student of Asian philosophy, Indian philosophy, Chinese philosophy, and of course Buddhism, which connects India and China. They're 2 great civilizations, very different, but they're connected. This common denominator of Buddhism has had, of course, a huge transformation in China, in the history of China. Adding to Taoism and Confucianism, it became one of the 3 jewels of the late Tang dynasty. And China has transformed Buddhism, Mahayana Buddhism, and given it back to the West. So it's very interesting to look through that lens. And now Buddhism is becoming also more important in the West. So we can talk about that later.
So as everyone knows that Queen Elizabeth just passed away, and I want you to give a little bit of your opinion about her. What kind of contributions and what did she left for the world? Your opinion about her as a leader in the humanity aspect. What do you think she did for the world?
I think that we were very fortunate to be alive during this very lengthy reign of Queen Elizabeth, and I was born around the same time as she began. So my whole life basically has been under the reign of Queen Elizabeth, and since I'm from Canada, she is a sovereign of the Commonwealth, the British Commonwealth. The empire more or less dissolved after World War II, but what emerged from it was a wonderful association of independent countries, which had formerly been colonies of Great Britain, or crown colonies in some cases, but they formed a wonderful cultural association. And I was a beneficiary of the Commonwealth because my scholarship to University College London was a Commonwealth scholarship. And so it was actually funded by the Queen. I was, in a sense, patronized by the Queen to do my studies there. And I didn't get a chance to meet her. But basically, I think that the role of a monarch as not a political power, but as a figurehead to represent the values of culture and to set a good example for people and to do charitable work and social work and to encourage people all over the world, as she did, is a really valuable thing. And I think we see that even some British people who may have been, indifferent about the monarchy, maybe not sure if it was a good idea, when she died, they all realized how important she was to them. And so we miss her already, and she was a great, great queen in the tradition of her namesake. Queen Elizabeth, too, I think has exceeded her. And for us, she's really good queen, best, too. And I think that that she leaves a fantastic legacy and set a wonderful example in spite of all the problems of her family. Every family has problems, including royal families, only their problems become headline news. But she rose above that with her great strength of character. And I will only wish her son, her heir, Charles, King Charles III, to be also successful.
As a leader of the country, although she has a superpower, but does she barely use it? I think that's the wisdom of being as a queen. She is actually taking the philosophy of a Tao, ruling without the rule. That's what I think.
Yes, as that's right. Lao Tzu says, govern a great state as you would cook a small fish, do it very gently. And I think that was her approach also, was to be very, very gentle, but also in that gentleness and in that politeness and diplomacy, there was a great power behind it. So she did not waste her force. She was very conservative in that sense, not politically, did not make her force conspicuous. She made her way conspicuous, and that was a way of gentleness and friendliness and diplomacy. And I think that people loved her for that.
Since a lot of things changed during the COVID that impact the people's life a lot, what do you see those changes are made, to the school life, to the student, to the young people?
Well, we're going to look at this. It's a very important question. COVID has changed the world. I mean, it's been, in some sense, a catastrophe. The importance of the internet and the digital revolution was already being felt, but COVID brought it to a higher level because it forced us to put our minds on the cloud and to keep our bodies in the chair. So we have kind of been sent into this virtual space, and where adults can manage to do it, you have a meeting in reality. I did this with our programs, our interactions online, and that is reasonably successful. But with children, let's say from 3 years old, in preschool, up to high school, including high school, in the adolescent years, it's been a real problem. And there are many reasons for this. I will just give you a few. We can expand on them if you wish. The first problem is that small children need to use all of their senses. They need to have all of their senses stimulated in order to further their neurological development in the brain and also their social development and their cognitive development. So they need not only to hear and to see, but they also need to taste and to touch and to smell and to feel each other and, to be in a community and to play. And you can't do any of that online. I mean, you can see and hear, but there's no other sensory communication at the moment. So if you think about it from that perspective, and I'm not hearing people discuss this, but it's something I've been writing about, that basically these small children are being deprived of sensory experience. So sitting in a Zoom classroom, even though they're hearing things and seeing the teacher, because they're missing that experience of being an embodied being, also in a real struggle for them. And that is something that results in lost time and lost development. Okay, that's a number one problem. Although it has been for their safety ostensibly, we are still arguing about this, because unfortunately the pandemic has also been politicized every possible way. The politics got mixed up in it, and politicians tried to spin it for their advantage politically, and that has not helped people. It has also hurt people. So especially the children. They were at the least risk, from this pandemic. And they were punished, in a sense, by being forced to stay home. And this, as I say, has impaired their cognitive abilities and their social development. And I'm very sorry for that. The internet is marvelous. We're having this conversation on Zoom. It's great. We can do it. Adults are less affected by that. My students at City College, they can learn online, but not all of them. Even the older students will find it better to be in a classroom, and I would much rather be with them in the classroom, making a personal connection with them, because the internet, it prevents that full range of sensory experience. Okay, so as good as it is, it's not complete.
Yeah, it's just a part of it. Yeah, the people's communication, not just including the mind communication, but also the touch and the sense is very important. How do you expect the people start the relationship?
Yes, exactly. And then there's been this push by big tech, because they obviously are enjoying a very profitable period. Everyone is forced now online. So the big online, companies, the big tech companies, have actually prospered, but a lot of smaller businesses have failed because of that. The people living on their phones. Everybody is glued to the phone, and their life is just a series of apps. It's really a disaster, because it does not enrich our human side very much. The technology is powerful, but people seem to think now that an app is the answer to everything. And this, I'm sorry, is not going to be good for humanity in the long run. We have to exercise more than apps on a phone in order to have a full life. And that's partly where the humanities comes in.
There's a lot of new technologies and innovations that AI are widely used in many applications running the business, and even replace some of the positions of human. A lot of people lose their jobs. Job position has been replaced by a robot. People are kind of get that worried. And what do you think about it?
But this has been constant in the history of humanity, really since the Industrial Revolution. We've seen 3 or 4 centuries of this kind of technological development, which destroys a certain sector, but then it always creates. It's yin and yang. There's no destruction without creation. So if something is destroyed here, something is created there, and we as humans need to be innovative enough to see where the opportunity lies. I remember when typewriters came out, and I know it was before my time, but when typewriters were so when Henry Ford produced his Model T, he put all the blacksmiths out of business. All these people were in hay to feed horses. I remember the refrigerator would harvest ice from lakes and put it in warehouse blocks of ice to put in their ice box to keep food fresh. And that industry was completely destroyed by refrigeration. So you can look at this over and over. The American economist Joseph Schumpeter famously called this process creative destruction. Every time a new industry is created, a new technology changes an existing industry, then suddenly you're going to have this disruption. But but it always ends up, or almost always ends up, with some kind of progress. But the most important thing, therefore, is not to criticize STEM. I mean, we need science, technology, engineering, mathematics more than ever, because the world is moving in that direction. But at the same time, we should not be defunding the humanities. This is the problem. The problem is not developing technologies. The problem is, let us not neglect the right brain. The left brain is the science and logic and language and math part, and that's very good. But the right brain is the imagination and the creativity. And all the great scientists in history will tell you that they're using both hemispheres. When they make a discovery, they're using their imagination as much as their logic. So we have to continue to fund and to encourage and to study humanities and the arts.
I totally agree, because I think the improvement of technology is just to give you more powerful tools, give it to the leader who make the decisions, whether or not to benefit the world or whether or not to create more harm, to this world. So I think it all depends on who's using it. And you have to make the right mind how to use these innovations and technologies properly. It needs to give those powerful tools into the right hands. It's all depending on how you use it. Yeah.
Well, the right hands. So in any system, if you do not have virtuous leadership, however the leaders come to power, I think has interfered with our human side and made us in some sense less human. When we look at the great philosophers of antiquity, they talk about friendship and the importance of human friendship. So Confucius says this at the beginning of the Analects. He says, how delightful when friends come from afar. To meet his friends, they come to visit. This is the beginning of his Analects. He's doing with the beauty of friendship in a virtual space. You lose almost all the benefits. Friend has become a verb now. Now with Facebook, I'm not singling out Facebook, but I am in a way. When you make a friend, it's a mouse click. Okay, when you make a friend in the old times, you're having a human connection with somebody, which gets deeper and more important over time. When you friend somebody with clicking a mouse, it's very shallow, it's ephemeral. There's no substance to it. So I would rather have a few really good friends in reality than a million virtual friends, on Facebook, because that kind of friendship is not real.
You never know if it's a real person behind.
Well, let's not get to conspiracy theories, because that's a whole other topic. But absolutely, this is Plato made this point, and it's a very important point, that we need to be very careful, very easily influenced by. So yes, you have bots out there, you have fake accounts, you have all kinds of things going on, and people cannot penetrate the curtain because it's deliberate. That curtain, the cyber curtain, is there, and you cannot see what's behind it. So that can be very dangerous politically, depending on the motive. Yeah, very dangerous. And then you have another kind of curtain where people are deplatformed, or people are shadow banned, or people are who may not agree with the main position, that they're going to be removed totally from the scene. There will be no other voice. And if we want to have a freedom of speech and freedom of artistic expression, we need to have all voices heard, not just a few voices.
Right. Exactly. That's why we built this platform. We are trying to put our own influence, trying to encourage people to stick to the humanity, especially when you're doing a business, manage your business or manage your country. I think it's all important that you have to be humanity driven. I want you to give a few words about this importance to apply to the business side of the humanity.
So business, then business has to make money to stay in business, are once again the dehumanizing aspects of technology, which are employed because they're profitable. So you can no longer talk to a human being. I mean, except in India, where everything is, we're encouraged to look at a website, to look at FAQs, or to talk to a bot. Every site now can have a robot. And their interaction. So it's a chemical interface, or without having a machine at the other end of the conversation. AI is getting better. And so it's a lot cheaper to run a program, run an app, than it is to hire a human being. But that is part of the dehumanizing. Doing it purely for profit motive is not in order to make the technology more human itself.
I had an experience of working at the investment banker. When we choose a company to invest, we don't just look at the business itself, We also look at the person who is the leader of the company, who is really capable, really have a passion for what he's doing, whether or not he's treating his team member nicely. That's important when we choose a business to invest. Make a goal for your future, whether or not it's going to benefit this society. This business will have a better future.
Is the most important services beings who make the company work, or its lack of communication, lack of understanding, lack of leadership, as well as lack of capital that makes a business fail. Business is no guarantees are not apps. These are leadership is not an app. There is so much coaching and leadership training and so much understanding. That's not going to be replaced. Great. I just wanted some music, composition, performance. All of those arts are still being done better by humans than by machines. There's no comparison. Again, the machine is very good on the left side of the brain and replicating those logical functions, but creativity itself is still much better when done by humans. So let's encourage human creativity. That's the important thing.
Yeah, it is important. As you see behind me is the new creation of the NFT that created by me to memorize the Queen Elizabeth II. They're saying at the day that she passed away, there's a rainbow. So I give those a rainbow color, different patterns. It's 8 of them, which means the September of 8th. So we use the 8 pictures to memorize. And also there's 96 sets of the collections. That's her, the 8. I think it's very memorable.
Yeah.
I hope you like it.
I was wondering about your background. Thank you for explaining it.
Luckily, I was graduated from the City University of New York.
You're an alumna? Which college did you go to?
Baruch College.
Wonderful. That's our business school. Yeah.
To New York in December to join the event, and hopefully I will be able to meet you.
As you can see, I'm teaching online still. We're about 80% back in the classroom, but 20% still online. And I have not traveled globally. I miss that a lot, because of the human contact. Once again, I love the Zoom meetings, but I wish I could be more with people. I think things are coming back a little bit now.
We should communicate more often because I'm with the Art and Art Foundation. So we're helping artists with their dreams. We provide the training opportunity, provide the job opportunities by running the programs and events. Hopefully, we can work together and you provide your guidance and knowledge and share with us more.
Well, I'm not sure that you need me at all, but you seem to be doing very well. If I can be of any assistance to you, May, I'll be delighted and honored to.
Sure. I do like the book that you gave me before.
Oh, so happy that you got a copy. Thank you so much. I think it's really important for Westerners to understand Tao, because as you know, many Westerners are very unhappy, or frustrated or skeptical or disillusioned, depressed. We have so many problems with our youth. We have young people who, doing suicide and horrible, and it's because they're far from Tao. I mean, if you want one reason for all of it, they are not close to Tao. And if they understand Tao and move closer to Tao, then their quality of life will certainly improve. So that's a really important mission, to help Westerners understand that wisdom of Chinese philosophy.
Yeah, I do hope this book will help more people to understand the relationship of the human being with the Tao. Well, thank you for sharing your thoughts with us, and thank you for joining the show. I wish you have a wonderful day.
Oh, thank you, May. It's so wonderful to see you again. So keep up your great work, and thank you very much for the opportunity to share some thoughts.
Thank you.